And Kevin, seen here in one of Ruby's many social media videos, now fighting to clear his own name.
He's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy, and no one's ever made any allegations that he's ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
We've had hearings with the juvenile court, and we all agreed that we wouldn't speak ill of one another.
I think the wording here is quite clever. Obviously, on behalf of lawyers and attorneys, they're going to be using some of those clever terms to try and, you know, work their way around some things. You guys all know how it goes with law, with this kind of thing. You got to say what you got to say, but I do find it quite interesting how he said he's never physically, you know, hurt any of them. That's not going into the sort of mental gymnastics and abuse a lot of us used to witness over on the 8 Passengers, you know, original channel and things. I think that this is going to cause quite a lot of division. I know that there is a lot of people who say, well, how could he leave, etc., etc. But Kevin hasn't spoken directly to us, I suppose. His attorney, his lawyer, has actually spoken. And they have gone on and they've done a couple different interviews. Also be reading one of the articles I'm actually able to read. But to summarize it, basically they're going for the whole, you know, he didn't know, you know, he hasn't been living there for quite a long time. You know, she was supposed to be having them over the summer and he had no idea that any of this was even happening. The one part that really did stand out to me is the fact that the attorney was saying that none of the parties wanted to talk ill will of one another. I mean, I know that it's court of law and I know that there are children involved. I would really struggle not to speak ill will of my ex-wife in this circumstance. I've been kind of fair in my judgment towards, well, you know, I do massive side-eye the whole idea that he just up and left. But I don't know the reasonings behind that. I have absolutely no idea. I know there's a huge background between Jodie literally splitting up marriages and just being an overall asshat. Like, I'm aware of all of this, but we don't really know what made him leave in the very first place. But I mean, he hasn't been around. He hasn't been around, and his lawyer's very much coming out and saying, well, he wasn't involved with the physical. He's never physically hurt the children. But is that just fancy wording? Because we have seen quite a lot of evidence over here of just, you know, just bad juju, just not being nice. Mentally, emotionally, not being very nice to your kids.
He's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy, and no one's ever made any allegations that he's ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
His lawyer telling ABC News that Kevin's main objective is the safety of his kids.
He just wants to do what's best for his kids, get them back, get them under his tutelage and his fathership, and protect them.
The pair had been separated and living in different homes for the last 13 months. Kevin's lawyer says he's distraught at how the allegations have impacted his family.
So the attorney didn't just go on one, he went on 2 separate shows. I think that's all that's listed here, where he claimed that all parties involved in the case agreed not to speak ill of anyone throughout the proceedings in order to protect the children. And if you want my blunt, full force opinions, you're gonna get it. I really am just getting this sense, and I don't know if it's justified or not, but I'm getting this sense that they all kind of know something that we don't, in order to be like, we're not going to speak ill will. Obviously, I'm not a complete idiot. You want to be able to protect the children, and I have said this, the children are top priority in this situation, but all these people should be held accountable. If one of them knows something about the other person, but they've all agreed not to speak ill will, they haven't been putting the kids first this whole time. I just feel like Kevin in particular, actually both of them, no one ever gave an explanation as to why they split up, and, you know, they don't have to, of course, but now they're at that moment where they could actually explain things, or Kevin could give us an insight into what Ruby was like, or whatever the case may be, they're choosing not to say anything.
Well, I'm sort of under certain constraints not to speak ill of anyone involved in this case. We've had hearings with the juvenile court, and we all agreed that we wouldn't speak ill of one another or respond to allegations that have been leveled, just in an effort to try to keep the kids out of social media, to do what we can to get these kids back to a good life.
I'm with you. All due deference to the kids. the horse is out of the barn, all right? Your client let the mother put the kids' lives and all the discipline all over the place on YouTube. So that decision was just fine when they were monetizing it. Now, all of a sudden, they want standards and they want us to be careful about the kids. The careful question here goes to whether or not they were careful with the kids.
I do understand that there is obviously a formula and a flow and a structure that you have to follow, and you can't be just slamming matching your ex and all of that kind of stuff. I get it, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a very serious situation where Ruby, your wife, she is being charged with really heinous crimes, and they're to do with your own children. Do you know what I mean? To be honest, I don't really think you're going to get a hell of a lot out of an attorney. He's been paid by Kevin. He's going to be paid to say what he needs to say. Kevin's attorney is obviously going to have to say something to the public to try and get everyone off his backs. To be honest, all they said was that he's never harmed them physically. And perhaps he never has. And I'm never going to sit here and speculate on that because I have absolutely no idea. I think you should just go with the information that you've seen, the information that has been shared. That is my own opinion. And I know that everyone has a very differing opinion. For the sake of your children, I can understand. But I could not bite my tongue. If it was me in that situation, I couldn't sit there and knowingly sit there knowing what they've done to my child. I couldn't do it. Anyway, I've drained on about this way too long. And when asked whether Kevin had any role in the behaviour that is being charged, the attorney said absolutely not. The host pushed on, wondering how that was even possible when they lived together, not yet knowing the two had actually separated. And said mum had the kids for the summer and went out of the county with the kids, and if he'd have known about it, he would have been all over it. The thing is that, okay, I understand that this is obviously a very, very strange / difficult scenario between him and Ruby. I don't understand it. I don't even pretend to understand it. I did make a video where I was saying, you know what, I understand that there's obviously something really deep and sinister going on, and I don't believe that many people would just up and leave their children. And some people agree with that, some people don't. Like I say, it's an extremely divisive topic. Someone had a bit of background information as to why he left in the very first place, why he had no contact with his children, because he's saying it was a summer. He's been gone for a lot longer than that. So, where was he before the summer? Even the neighbours said he just up and left. There was no one there. All the neighbours were saying Ruby would disappear for weeks at a time. Kevin, last year, 13 months ago, however long, he literally left, never came back. That's what people are saying who live around them, who have now given testimonials about it. None of us know the reasonings as to why he left, fundamentally. I don't know the reasonings. I'm not defending him in any way, so don't get this twisted, because I think it's a sick joke how he won't, I couldn't do it. I don't understand why they're kind of, pussyfooting around it a little bit. Okay, so when the host asked whether that meant everything happened after he left the family home, the attorney said any alleged abuse happened in a house that was a couple 100 miles away from where Mr. Franke was, and that he never condoned the abuse, which basically means that the attorney, whoever, whatever, is basically saying that it didn't happen under his watch, didn't happen when he was there. And even he wasn't there for ages. Neighbours say that. And the thing is that I'll try and find the newspaper article that I was actually referencing, but you can go and watch my neighbours. I did a video on the 8-passenger neighbour people, everyone speaking out about it, their neighbours speaking out. They detail that there was something really weird going on in that house, basically as soon as Kevin left. Kevin left, and then the whole thing started to go to crap. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't leave my kids in that environment, but I don't know what triggered him to leave. It's really hard to make a formal assessment on it, but they're being clever with the way that they're wording things, and you've got to be if you're trying to defend someone, and I do understand that. But we're going to get quite a lot of this. There's going to be kind of half answering questions. We're going to have all of that. and it's going to be difficult trying to get the truth out of it. He reiterated his client was not around the children this summer, but wouldn't respond to allegations of any possible misconduct while he was still living with the rest of his family. Does that mean that he doesn't want to respond to allegations of when he lived with Ruby or when he left and he lived with his family, his other members of his family? I'm not really quite sure what he meant by that. But I do just find this situation, there's going to be a lot of pushing the blame forward, which is kind of, going, oh, I don't have any idea about that.
The mother has been charged with happened when he was in the house.
That's correct.
One of the allegations is that the kid wasn't allowed to sleep in a bed for 7 months. Why did he think that was okay?
I don't know what to think, and I do not want to sit here and make speculations. I have seen quite a lot of clips in the past of Kevin and things, and he has been, and I've said this before, just as much of a disciplinarian as Ruby. We have seen the Connections workshop. We've seen them, both agreeing to the types of mental abuse, I will say, that they used to do with their kids. They used to do a lot of workshops, and they used to kind of take joy in the fact that, no punishment is bad enough and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm sure you can find those clips.
He's a very gentle guy, and no one's ever made any allegations that he's ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
If the allegations are true, my client has never supported, condoned, or even acted in a physical way towards these kids, concluded the attorney. I think we're going to have to let the court system play that out. And I will say it once, I will say it a million times. There is a formula to the way that these guys speak, and I'm telling you that them highlighting the fact it wasn't physical, they've said it every single time. There's a reason why they're saying physical. Is because perhaps he was never physical. Perhaps that is an immense possibility. Like I say, I've never seen it. I've never whatever. That's not for me to ever judge. I'm not going to sit here and say it is or isn't true. There's a hell of a lot more allegations than just being physical with a child.
Is your suggestion that everything that has been charged happened after he left?
Correct.
All sorts of allegations aside from just the physical nature of it. And I do think it is quite interesting how the attorney keeps on reiterating, I was never physical, he was never physical, he's never been physical with a child, with any of his kids or another person. I think that is very telling. That is just my own opinion. This is the article just up here that I have been reading out, and I will leave it linked down below. I did actually share an article. I tried to share an article yesterday in a video because it was one of the articles that was addressing this, but it was only available in the States. It wouldn't let me access because it was in Europe. They didn't have it open for us. So yeah, couldn't access it, but here it is, and I would love to hear everyone's thoughts and feelings on the situation. I'm going to try and tie in 8-passenger updates to my regular uploads, but don't worry, I have been filming more non-8-passenger content. Don't worry, it will be uploaded in amongst it, which will be slightly annoying for some because there might be a double upload, but I will try my absolute hardest. Kids are back at school, so I have a lot of free time. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.